live this Saturday as PICQS APC Talks Channel or PATCH brings you Mr. Silver Dela Rosa. Be inspired with his own APC journey as he presents his actual case study and the blow-by-blow account during his final assessment interview. Watch us live through YouTube channel PATCH with PICQS on 20th March, 3 p.m. Manila time with your hosts AJ Paredes and Eric Bucklig. See you there.
Okay, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, everyone. I'm AJ Arlene Joy Paredes, current president of PICQS Singapore chapter, and I am delighted and excited to be your host for our second session of Patch. Patch is PICQS APC Talks channel aiming to provide overviews about the chartered and certified professionals APC journey, PICQS structured trainings, and every quantity surveyor's road to becoming QS professionals to maximize their career potential. For those who are not so familiar with PICQS, Philippine Institute of Certified Quantity Surveyors is an all-Filipino QS organization with a global reach. In a span of nearly a decade, PICQS has formed 12 chapters around the globe. We have Philippines, UK, UAE, Oman, Qatar, Bahrain, KSA, North America, Singapore, New Zealand, Australia, and our most recently formed chapter, BIM Indochina. Our members are mostly QS-trained engineers, architects, and other allied profession practicing the quantity surveying globally, and we have structured trainings to patch up the required competencies towards exponential career growth. And before I proceed further and for the formal interview of our special guest, I would like to call in our co-host for this afternoon. The co-host for this afternoon is the Global Communications Head for PICQS. He is also one of the founding members of AQSA or ASEAN Quantity Surveyors Association and also one of the organizing committee members for our upcoming event, our upcoming milestone, which is the PAQS 24th Congress. Without further ado, I would like to call in Mr. Eric Bucklig. Hi, Eric.
Hi, AJ.
Good
Thank you for having me.
afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. And good afternoon to everyone who are currently watching our program. So, thank you for having me as your co-host, and good day to everyone and to all members from our 12 strong chapters and viewers around the globe. So,
Yes.
after the success of the pilot session of the patch, I am very happy for today's session. You know what, AJ? I am deeply honored to PICQS for holding the rope for me in my professional quest for higher education and for continually equipping professionals with the competencies and needed skills to respond to the call of the industry. So I believe this session will serve as pigments of learning from our speaker's APC journey while highlighting the PICQS structured training.
Correct. And of course, with everything that you have said, I couldn't agree more. And to proceed and for us to be able to have in our guest, why don't you do the honor and introduce him?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So our guest speaker for today has joined us as a host in our first patch session last February. So he has been giving away APC hacks in the monthly series in a nutshell, which provides information on PICQS activities. So showcases the lighter sides of the guest and many more. So professionally, our guest speaker is a member of the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyor, a corporate member of the Philippine Institute of Certified Quantity Surveyors, and a certified project management professional with a degree in civil engineering and specialist diploma in construction productivity. Wow, very, very, very nice
That's
credential. So
a
yeah,
lot of that's a
yeah,
lot of accomplishments.
yeah. So he spent the first half of his career on various technical fields of construction, such as structural design, project scheduling, supervision, and implementation, while the second half was focused on delivering commercial and contractual services to the project, such as cost management and contract management and administration. So
Uh,
I have, yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's well he's well versed in commercial and contracts management. That's why he usually renders talks and webinars as one of our subject matter experts in the field. His growing experience in commercial settlements and various methods of alternative dispute resolution, such as adjudication, mediation, and arbitration, has made him one of the go-to persons for our fellow members, including myself. And we have questions related, if in case we have questions related to these aspects. So we go to him and then ask him questions, and then, you can really count on him.
okay. So, you know what, AJ? I have heard a lot of things about him and even
Uh-huh.
prepared a few questions regarding commercial management. So, without further ado, let us welcome Mr. Silver Dela Rosa.
Okay, hi there, Silver.
Hello,
Welcome
Eric.
to Patch.
Hi,
Hello, Eric. Yeah,
Silver.
hello, AJ. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for that warm introduction and for having me here. My warm
Yes,
regards to all the PICQS members from our 12 strong chapters, and also to all the viewers around the world. Pleasant day to all of you. It is a both pleasure and honor that you gave me a chance to share my APC experience. And I hope that my experience will inspire others to pursue their path to become a certified QS as well.
I believe they will be
Yeah.
very inspired, and it's
Yeah.
nice to have you back here in Patch this time as one of the interviewees or our guest speaker now.
Oh, it's an honor,
So
Yeah,
AJ.
very
Believe me,
much.
it is. Yes.
Yeah,
so
I'm
we're
very
very
excited
excited.
to learn. Yeah.
Correct. So without further ado again on everything, and because we don't have much time and we would like to cover as much, and you will be presenting your actual case study, so there will
Yes.
be some kind of a reenactment of what happened, what transpired during your final assessment interview. And not just the final assessment interview, I believe the final assessment interview is just, the cherry on top of the ice cream. The rest is like a years of preparation, right? So
Yeah, it's a journey
before we
that counts.
proceed, correct. During one of our conversations, I remember you uttering a very great quote, and I would like to flash it on the screen and share it with everybody before we proceed with the talk on the PICQS structured training. So here it goes. There you go. So it is a very inspiring message for everyone. And it actually is also applicable to myself. Like, at first, you would think that QS or quantity surveying is a profession lower than civil engineering or any allied profession that we have. And but then after we do our structured trainings, you would realize you came to a realization that actually the level of that represents the level of ignorance about about the profession,
Yes,
right?
indeed.
True, true. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
Okay, and so now let's talk about the PICQS structured training. So you are a product of PICQS structured training, and you took all three groups of courses. So how long was this course duration, and what were the topics?
Oh, yes. I first joined PICQS in early part of 2015, and thereafter I embarked on several structured trainings. The first among these is what we call the P3T or the PICQS Think Tank Training. The training is composed of 12 topics, and I completed the training somewhere around November 2015. Yes.
Oh, okay. And I think Eric has something to
Yeah.
ask you
So,
about
as
it.
we speak, our first batch of Global P3T are undergoing their trainings from March until May 2021. So, we have two groups, Middle East with sessions every Friday, and the Asia group, which conducts their session every Sunday. So, imagine we have a couple of around 200 trainings for this 2021 P3T. So, it's very good training for the PICQS. So I have a question, Silver. So as a civil engineer yourself, what were you expecting when you registered for the training? Yeah.
Okay, okay.
On
But
your
before that,
expectations. Yeah.
yes,
True,
yeah.
true.
But
Okay, so
before that, okay,
correct.
AJ,
So
please, yes.
yeah, so before you answer that question, I would like to share first what are the PICQS structured trainings briefly. So first we have what you have mentioned, the think tank training or P3T. And then we also have the PAP1 or the PICQS APC Program 1 for beginners. And we also have the GAMP, which is now called Guidance and Monitoring Program. And the fourth one is a PICQS APC Program 2. This is what you have gone through, right? But right now, we already have five structured trainings, including the PMLA or the PICQS Mentors League Assessment. Okay. So, but before we continue, you can now answer the question: what
Yeah.
were you expecting when you took P3T?
Yeah, there are a lot who can relate to that question because I myself is a civil engineer.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
It's good to know actually that we have developed these trainings and we have further added some more trainings. And it is amazing to know that in a span of a little bit of more than 5 years, the training had grown globally. At first, actually, I'm not expecting much from the training. I thought that it will be just a review of what I learned from college days, but I was wrong. It is way more than that. The training filled the knowledge gap that was not discussed during my college years. As a civil engineer myself, I first viewed the QS as only part of engineering subject and something that is lower than engineering profession, as what I have said earlier. Even I only even heard about the term quantity surveying when I was hired for this position here in Singapore. So the training made me realize how ignorant I am about the QS profession, and it opened my eyes to the realm of professional quantity surveying.
So
Yes.
it was P3T which opened your eyes about the real value of quantity surveying or the profession, the quantity being a quantity surveyor.
Ye- Yes, correct. That's correct. And I would really encourage the practicing quantity surveyors who are graduate of allied professions like engineering,
Mhm.
like myself, to
True.
undergo these structured trainings. Because P3T for me is the most important training as it made my foundation to build environment stronger.
Mm-hmm. And we discussed in the previous patch session, P3T is level 1, which is knowing. So I
Mm.
believe
Yes.
that all of us here have already gone through P3T, and it was it was a remarkable training journey. After you've gone through the 24 hours, or was it 24 hours or 30 hours of a CPD, then
Mhm.
you can say that you have had this foundation on the quantity surveying, like an overview of it. And then the next one, which is also something that you've gone through, is the second structured training, which is PICQS APC Program 1.
Mhm.
And let us first share with our viewers what is uh, your certificate after completing P3T. Okay, so at the time we have 30 hours of CPD.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
we even had to take an examination to say, just to qualify that we have passed the P3T training, right? The structured training.
Yes,
It
correct.
is
Yeah.
it will be concluded with an examination and you have to pass it. before you can move to the next structured training, which is level 2,
Yes, that's right.
which
Yeah.
is PAP 1.
Yeah,
Correct. And
I
let
must
us
say, yeah, true. I
go
must
ahead.
say that, yeah, P3T is one of the most important levels in the structured training of PICQS,
Agree.
because, yeah, it bridges the gap between those who are currently practicing professionals, which somehow doesn't know really the foundation when it comes to the practice of the profession. So
Agree.
it really
Agree.
helps. Yeah, yeah.
Even when during our interview before we become members, right?
Yeah,
There's the interview is not just what's your name and how old are you or what are
true,
you doing right now
true.
with your job or
Yeah.
what is the work scope of the job that you're having, but
Mhm.
it is more of really gauging how much you know about the profession. I
Yeah, yeah.
remember being asked, so one of the questions that you would go through, but I might be accused of leaking the questions during an interview. So let's save it for those who haven't gone
True,
through the
true.
interview,
Yeah.
right? But
But it's exciting. Yeah.
it wasn't just an interview, but the membership interview is also something to look forward to because you would also learn something. I felt that the interview is already 1 hour CPD or so, right? Because of the topics
Yeah,
discussed.
yeah, yeah. Actually,
Yes,
it's a
yes.
1 hour.
Yes,
And
correct.
actually, it's even the thing about interview with PICQS is that you think you're confident enough to respond to all their interview questions because you've been doing it for quite a long time. But when
True.
you are asked about these things, you will realize that you don't know what is the proper terminologies to use. That what you are
Correct.
Very,
using actually you're doing something, but you're calling it with a different name, right?
true, true.
Agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
many are those who thinks that the proper term for this particular item of work is like this, and then um, they got confused at times because some professionals are doing already the job, but they
correct.
don't have a good or a proper foundation for it. So I think it's really good undergoing the P3T training.
Agree.
yeah,
So
Mhm.
during our time, well, Silver here is my batchmate within P3T in the structured training. And during that time, we have 12 topics. Right
Mhm.
now, we have 12 topics still, but it was broken down. I mean, two of the topics were divided into two parts because of we have to give more time about it as foundations, which is the measuring, tendering, and procurement, and also the contractual procedures, law, and contract. So we have two parts for each of those. So right now, our global P3T enrollees will undergo 14 sessions of global CPDs. And I am delighted to share with you that we have almost 200 enrollees for these two groups of
wow,
P3T. Amazing, right?
yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
amazing.
move
very
on.
nice.
Let's move on. Why don't we take a look at your next certificate, which is for the POP 1 training. So this one is level 2, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Reflashing your quote on the level of profession that I first thought of is actually the level of ignorance about the profession. This is the line that I really, really
Yeah,
like. Hmm.
Yeah, because
Which
I
is
very,
think that I
very
think that's the way that
striking.
I can describe it in a. There's no other way for me to describe it. Yeah.
agree, agree.
True, true.
So moving on, we have this PAP 1, which is PICQS APC program PAP or the APC program 1. Okay, so what is the meaning of APC, Eric? I believe that during the last patch
Yeah,
session, we already defined APC and the competencies. But
yeah.
maybe for others right now who are watching us, they missed the first session. By the way, it's recorded in YouTube and it's in our YouTube channel. But briefly, why don't you share with us what is the meaning of APC?
So basically, APC is the assessment of professional competence. So you have to undergo in a very stringent procedure. This is a way of also challenging yourself to prepare yourself for the practice of
Mhm.
quantity surveying. So it's not just a mere interview. It's not just a journey of getting the qualification, but it's about preparing yourself to really be a good professional with a strong background, with a strong knowledge based on the standards. And of course, you'll become one of those who will be strengthening the industry that we are in. So that's how I look at it.
Agree.
Yeah,
Okay. It
yeah,
really
Yeah.
is. You have made it on point. You have
true,
you
true.
all, everything that you have mentioned is on point. Okay. So looking at APC program 1, this is level 2 and it's doing. So what we did was we had of course the sessions, the talks, and the exciting part is the actual workshops. To me, this is not just 24 hours or 25 hours CPD, but it's way beyond it because when we prepared our assignments, it was really, it will take up much of your time.
True,
After work,
true,
then you have to do and then, practice, read on it, reflect on what was discussed during the sessions, and actually doing it, the cost report, the tender report. It was to me, PAP 1 is the most exciting structured training. If
true.
for
Yeah.
if for
Right.
silver, P3T is the foundation. PAP 1 to me is the most exciting.
Yeah, and previously in my batch we have a reporting, we have a group work wherein we somehow engage ourselves to the current conditions of our work, the problems that our teammates are currently encountering. So there, the group works, the assignment are really helps you to really understand the competencies required for a particular session. So it's very nice actually.
And not to mention there's
Yeah,
another examination, right?
yeah. True, true. Yeah,
Okay,
because in
so
PICQ, yeah, because in PICQS, we really make sure that on every stage, you really know or you really reap the benefits of having
correct.
these stages of the training.
Agree. And Cons, why don't you tell us your own personal story about the PAP 1 or the knowledge or the doing level 2?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, about POP 1. So for me,
Yes.
actually, POP 1 is another exciting training. It made me do things that I didn't do when I was, even when I was studying. Things like staying up late just to complete an assignment. And for POP 1, I also learned the proper technical terms of the activities that I carried out and also the proper way to do it. Because of we have workshop that trained us how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the common notion that, especially particularly for us Filipinos, that quantity surveyor is only an estimator, and the works carried out by quantity surveyor is only to measure and to take off quantities. So POP 1 training had proven to me that this notion is not accurate at all. As you can see from the certificate, the one that is flashing in the screen right now, the topics are quite wide ranging. So it could range from the very early stage of the project, which is from concept estimating, all the way to contracts management, commercial management, and up to the finalization of project. Also, it is worth noting that more often, the account will be finalized long after the site personnel had left the project. So it will be the QS that will be left to close the project's account. Yeah. So it's not just
Yeah.
measuring and taking off of quantities.
Mm. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Agree.
Silver. Yeah, I agree with those statements. Very true. So if I may ask, Silver, how did PAP One change your perspective as a quantity surveyor before and after the PAP One program?
Oh, okay. So actually, for POP 1, after I undergo POP 1 training, it
Mm-hmm.
made me more efficient in carrying out my task and it made me understand the proper procedures. and of course the correct terminologies to use. You become more confident when you talk to anyone, whether it is your colleague, your boss, the consultants. And a good example is that before PAP 1, I often interchange the use of term cost estimate and cost plan, because
Mhm.
for me I thought they are the same. It's a product of estimation, but actually they are two different things. So the trainings and workshop provided me with a template on how to properly carry out various activities for the project. Yeah, so that
Okay.
is how PAP 1 developed me as a professional.
Okay, because it's like you're following a standard. Now,
Yes,
some
Yeah.
of the
correct.
even confusing terms I think we discussed during the first patch session was the difference between contract practice and contract
Contract
administration.
administration. Yes.
So these are things that you would think it's just a matter of defining the words, but the actions that you gain when you do the workshop is also another thing. So
Yes,
it's
correct.
really exciting, and I find PAP 1 a really exciting structured training. So
Yeah.
after that, we went through the GAMP, or the Guidance and Monitoring Program, during that time, which is now changed to Guidance and at the time it was Guidance and Mentoring Program,
Mentoring.
and now it was changed to Guidance and Monitoring Program, because we will be having this PMLA, which is the actual mentoring structured training, right?
Yes,
So
correct.
in GAMP, so this another 24 hours of structured training. This time it's more concentrated on the actual APC submission
Yes.
forms, and then how you're going to write your competencies, your statement of experience, right? So what were the key takeaways with GAMP?
So for me, GAMP is more than just a training. It is an in-depth training, because it will make you look internally into yourself and lets you assess your own professional competence.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, taking action and writing them down are two different things. When you write things down, it will make you look into retrospect of the actions that you have taken. So, and by looking back on something that I have done previously, so I would sometimes I would think that if I have this knowledge before, so my actions would have been different. So there is a more of an in-depth learning through realization of your past actions. Yeah.
True, true. Yeah. So Silver, can you share the key challenges that you faced during the GAMP training? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because yeah, I can still remember my GAMP training as well. So if you can share to our audience the key challenges that you faced during your GAMP.
Okay. So I think actually the key challenges that I encounter, and I believe it is the challenges or the challenge being faced by everyone who is preparing for their EPC, as well as the one who are undertaking their GAMP, is first finding what to write, and second, finding time to write. Okay, because if you think about it, you will write about 10 mandatory competencies with 1,500 maximum words. So there is also a word limit, a word count limit. So for this mandatory, you have to write up to level 3 competency for professional ethics, level 2 for client care, health and safety, and communications and negotiation. So the rest of the mandatory competencies will be until level 1.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, there are 6 technical and 2 optional competencies that you will write with a maximum word count of 4,000 words. So if you think about it, 3,000 plus 4,000 words is around 7,000 already. Yeah. And you have to satisfy, yeah. And you have to satisfy up to level 3 of those technical competencies and up to level 2 for the optional one. And then there is the more challenging one, the case study, which will have a maximum word count of 1,500 words. Yes,
Okay. That's a lot of competencies. That's a lot of
Yeah.
words to write. And
yes,
I think you also mentioned, and we also practiced having this Excel table just to tabulate the number of words, how many you have utilized, and how much more remaining for you to
Mhm.
discuss and divide it amongst all the competencies, right?
yes, correct. I did that one too. And I still have the records until now, actually. How many revisions I made, which word
Uh,
count I will go into slash, and which competency I need to add certain words. these things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And at this
very
time,
true.
yes. So at this time, Eric, when you were doing your GAMP, were you also having a hard time, slashing the words, especially you think that you have a lot to say?
Yeah, I had the challenge really because I used to write and write and write, and then afterwards I've already exceeded the required number of words, and then going back to the statement again, going back to the the structure of the um, statement of experience. There's a question that you should answer, such as did I write the strong words, the right words, the right experiences? Is it convincing? Something like that. So it's very challenging. And again, the key word there, I think, is the honesty of the experiences that you've written, because it should be based on your experience.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, very
So
that's very
Yeah, and
you
more
have to write it
importantly,
ethically.
yeah,
yeah.
true, true.
And more importantly, you keep on asking yourself, did I satisfy the requirement for this particular level?
Yeah,
Have
Mm.
I
yeah.
write the correct description or the correct experience to satisfy the required level?
Oh,
And then
okay. Yeah.
sometimes after you have written, you have written for level 3, and when you read back, it seems that you only satisfied level 1. So you have to do
Yeah,
it again. Yeah.
yeah.
So what were
That,
your
yeah.
if you encounter things like that, like you mentioned that you're supposed to write on about having it until level 3, but unfortunately while you're doing the exercise you realized, oh, I just finished level 1, so what I have is only knowing. I haven't done any actual work regarding this, and I haven't even given any advice related to this competency. So what do you usually do if you encounter that part
Oh,
when
so
you're
what I will do is that I will again take a look of what I have done in previous works, and then technology, I mean, actually helps a lot in dealing with these challenges. So what I
Mhm.
do is that wherever I am, and then things will strike or ideas will strike my mind, I will write it using my hand phone, even
Mhm.
only in bullet points. And then later
Mhm.
on, I will expound it when I arrive home or when I find time to write my competencies again or my statement of experience. Yeah, so that's how I deal with it. Yeah.
That's great to
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, is there anything you want to share, Eric, about the GAMP? Because for me, if we have mentioned earlier, P3T is like the foundation. Pop one to me is the most exciting structured training. GAMP for me is the longest structured training.
Yes,
Because
yes.
it will, yeah, I had to go back to some of the competencies because I need
Mhm.
to finish or level 2 or gain a level 2 experience or a competency. So I have to go back to it. Sometimes I would
Mhm.
ask my superior to let me take on this role or let me take on this job so I can gain this competency. So, just to satisfy the requirement.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
mhm.
go ahead, Eric.
For me, for the GOMP trainings, I was able to gauge myself in terms of my experience, and really in terms of how I did these particular competencies
Mhm.
in my previous experiences. So it's very important, and I agree. It's one of the longest trainings, personally.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
after this, we have touched on P3T, POP1, and GAMP. Let's move on to POP2, which is the PICQS APC Program 2. So this is more on the guidance on APC interview, wherein formal review sessions with the corporate member as a facilitator will be done, and mock interviews or grand mock interview to follow. And during your APC program, which we will, during your APC journey, Silver, which we
Yes.
will discuss later, we will share with our audience the timeline on the step by step what transpired during your APC journey. And I think this PAP 2 is an exciting part of your training, especially the mock interview. And
Yes.
then moving on, just a brief overview about the PICQS structured training. We have the PMLA, which is the PICQS Mentors League Assessment. And then I think within this year, we're going to have our own APC final assessment, right? PICQS. Okay, and then you will have a one-on-one mentoring program, and then you will be developing the written submissions, uploading it in the ARC, I think, and endorsement for APC, and the endorsement for grand mock interview. That's a lot of structured trainings.
Yeah,
And
it is.
let's how do you find everything? I mean, when you started with your journey 2015 and then you got your final assessment result in 2018, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
later, before moving towards the end of our session, you will also share your APC own APC journey. So why don't we move on to the next part of our program, which is okay, so your personal APC journey. So right now, we are going to share with everyone what I have mentioned before, which is your APC timeline.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, all right. If we look into the entire journey itself, I would say that it all started from P3T in 2015 as it laid the foundation of my interest in the realm of quantity surveying. And then for the write-up of my statement of experience or SOE, it started with GAMP in 2017. So it was only on the later part of 2017 that I actually enrolled for the APC. My preliminary submission was done on the 28th, I think, or 28th of May 2018. Yes. And I received the preliminary assessment result in about 3 weeks' time. So that is in 20th of June 2018. My preliminary submission was approved with minor comments. And 2 days after that, on 22nd of June, I submitted my amended write-ups addressing those minor comments, and I was scheduled to sit for final interview on the 12th of July 2018. So I received the good news, let's say a week after, that was on the 19th of July, that I passed the APC assessment. And of course, prior to final interview, there is some exciting things that are going on. Like I had a mock interview with Mr. Vladimir Biardo from UAE. That was done online, and I had a face-to-face mock interview with my fellow PICQS here in Singapore. So if you can see in the screen right now, that is a memorabilia of what we have done during the mock interview. We did it
Wow.
only on a coffee shop, but we took it seriously. We
Mm.
even it's not dress to impress, but dress to take down the APC, something like yeah. And then I have my colleagues with me, including AJ, who act as the assessor, and they actually ask some tough questions, and they really reviewed what I have written seriously. So these interviews really helped me a lot during the final assessment. Yes.
That's
So
actually what I enjoyed also with this with your whole journey. It is one is we are proud. I am proud
Mm.
to be part of your APC journey. And the good thing of having it in PICQS is we get to have these mock interviews with your colleagues. I mean, QS people yourself, like
yes,
yourself, and then we get to engage ideas and we get to share like what we think would be beneficial when you do your presentation. Like
yes,
one of the comments here on screen is your hand gesture when you speak is distracting. That
yeah,
that could be something
Yeah.
that you feel how could you make that remark on me? But you took it positively and you I think you practiced on how it should be done so you will
Mm.
not have too much hand gesture during your final assessment interview.
yes,
So
correct.
those are like constructive criticisms which help you along the way, which is very great.
Yeah,
Yes, correct.
As for us, oh, go
mhm.
ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I can only imagine the excitement. But behind that excitement is the your friends, your colleagues in the PICQS family is grilling you on the table. They are very serious about it, and then um, I I have no words. Like I'm very excited at the same time if given the chance to be having that mock interview in very soon, hopefully. And I think um what the picture shows is the support the support from the PICQS family that they want you to succeed in your professional journey. So I'm very glad that we are on an organization who fosters and who tries to help each other to fulfill their dreams. So yeah, well done, well done.
Yes, yes, correct,
Yeah,
Eric.
I'm
And
very excited with
yeah,
that.
and if I may add, Eric, with
Mhm.
PICQS community, if you can see the my pool of support that or the pool of support that I had from PICQS is not only from the local chapter that I had in Singapore. I had it in a global sense. I had Mr.
Wow.
Vladimir Biardo from UAE who gave me a mock interview also via Skype. No, that is via Botim, the application. And then also
Voting?
there is Botim. And there
Oh.
is also Mr. John Chavez who really encouraged me to do a face-to-face interview. That's why we have this mock interview with our colleagues here in Singapore. Because according to the advice of Mr. Chavez is that having it online is different than having it in front, up front,
Face to face.
face-to-face. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that is why during the face-to-face interview, I wear my coat and tie. It's not only for the purpose of dressing up, but it's the
Mhm.
purpose of having the feel of actual interview itself. Do I feel comfortable using these clothes? Or every time I move, I feel unease. So I have to adjust all of this. So this mock interview actually had given me a lot of confidence as well
Yeah,
as preparation.
extra dose of
Yeah,
confidence.
correct. Yeah.
I think you. I remember you telling us about the story. You when you were writing your case study and when you were writing your competencies and when you were rehearsing for your presentation, you even asked your wife to watch you.
Yes, yes, that's correct. Because my wife is a non-construction person. He don't
Mm-hmm.
know anything about construction. Actually, she's on different field. But what I did is that I want to present to her the way I deliver my case study as a lay person. Because if a
Mm,
lay person can understand what I am talking about, much more the technical person. So the comments that I will get is from all parties, from my wife who don't know anything about construction, if she understands what I'm talking about, and I
mhm.
also let a friend of mine to review what I have written if it is clear for him, and he is on a business side actually. His specialty is business and marketing.
Wow.
So I got all the support that I can lay my hands on. Yes, because during these times, you need all the support that you can get, actually. And I'm really
It's
thankful
very
that I have this pool of people that surrounds me that are very supportive
Mhm.
also. Yeah.
wow. Okay, I believe
Wow.
they're watching right now and they're also very proud of you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that experience. It can also be a tip on how we're going to do it when it's our time. Like have someone read it
Mhm.
and comment on it. If it's
Yeah.
a non-engineer or non-QS from the non-construction industry professional, we can have it reviewed, right? So anybody
Yes,
can
correct.
review your write-ups. Anybody can mark or make a contribution on how you're going to deliver your APC journey. So without further ado, why don't we have a blow by blow account of your case study and what transpired during the actual final assessment interviews?
Sure.
Okay, there you have it. Thank you for sharing that. Your write up, your competency writing, and then the statement of experience, the whole structured training sessions, and what has happened, what you have experienced during those structured trainings. Now I'm giving the floor to you, Silver, so you can share with us your actual 10-minute case study presentation with your APC. Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen for the
Yes,
10
go
minute
ahead.
presentation. All right. So let me share screen first. Mm,
Yeah, I'm very excited really to know your case study when you're doing when you're preparing for your APC. This will help a lot. And I would just like to highlight the statement from Julie De La Cruz, our chairperson, that AP passing the APC is just the beginning to help everyone to help the members, our members and our colleagues to pass their APC as well.
Agree. I believe that
thank
this is
you.
the much awaited 10-minute case study presentation, which is going to be delivered by none other than Silver De La Rosa, candidate number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Take it away, Silver.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you, AJ. But before that, during these next 10 minutes, I will consider you, AJ and Eric, as the panel of assessors. Okay? Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
sure.
also, please take note that due to confidentiality reasons, details that could identify the dramatis personae of this event was removed. And for the purpose of this program, the project photo that I will use in my visual aid is a fictitious project. And due credit is given to the owner of the said photo. Now, I will begin. Panel assessors, panel chair, a pleasant morning to all of you. Once again, I am Silver de la Rosa, candidate number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. My case study is about the financial considerations in arbitration. This is the project where my case study was based, and it is a mixed-use development project with a 360 condominium units. My case study in particular is about the alternatives that the management can choose from and the corresponding cost involved to settle the dispute with a domestic subcontractor for supply and installation of timber doors. I am the person in charge for the procurement of the services of the domestic subcontractor, which involves the preparation of subcontract documents as well as the administration of the domestic subcontract. Now, when defects were found on the doors installed by the door subcontractor, a direction to rectify the defects at a given schedule was issued to them, but they refused to rectify the said defects. In view of this, a notice was served to the door subcontractor giving them 7 days to act. Otherwise, our right for remedy due to noncompliance as expressed in the subcontract will be invoked. A defect rectification subcontractor was engaged when the door subcontractor failed to take action after the given notice period. I see to it that the recovery of the cost incurred with the supporting documents was notified to the door subcontractor at least 7 days before the issuance of payment response, wherein the cost incurred will be recovered by way of contra charges. After the rectification works were completed, I had prepared the final account of the door subcontractor. It turned out that the cost incurred plus the 20% administrative charges, which was agreed in the subcontract, had exceeded the remaining sum due to them. So in summary, the door subcontractor has to repay us with $102,000. The recovery of the cost incurred, including the administrative charges, was disputed by the door subcontractor. And without exploring any other means to settle the dispute, they filed for arbitration. During the early stage of arbitration, the door subcontractor had a meeting with our management in an attempt to commercially settle the dispute, but it was not successful. This is because that the door subcontractor requested to be paid with $20,000 instead of the $90,000 that is due to them under the contract. So effectively, they will absorb around 70,000 of the cost. While our offer during that time is not to impose the 20% administrative charges, but only to recover the cost that we had incurred for rectification. Therefore, we are requesting the door subcontractor to pay us a sum of $70,000. Since both parties failed to reach an agreement, the door subcontractor decided to proceed with arbitration to settle the dispute. It was at this juncture that I prepared a cost analysis in order to find out the financial benefits to the management if the arbitration case will continue to its conclusion. I gathered inputs from our lawyers and our accounts department in order to draw a realistic figure and present the most likely scenarios. As shown on this table, there will be no financial benefit to the management even if the case will be won by 100%. At best, the management stand to incur an estimated loss of 24,000, and at worst case, the losses may rise up to 491,000. A detailed computation of this cost involved in the cost analysis can be found in my Table E of the case study submission. After finding out that the management will not have any financial benefits from the arbitration, I explored further if there are any possible negotiating options to choose should the management decide to call the door subcontractor back to the negotiating table. I worked out three possible options and presented them to the management. Option 1 is to drop hands, or each party will forego the claim against each other, wherein our company's losses is assessed at around 117,500. Option 2 is to pay $20,000 to the door subcontractor, or the amount that they requested during the first negotiation meeting. With this option, the losses of the company was assessed at around 137,500. And option 3, I determined what will be the maximum amount to be paid to the subcontractor, and I used $24,000. So this is the losses that the management may incur even if we won the arbitration case by 100%. So for this option, the total losses is assessed at 141,500. Details of the computation of these options can be found in Table F of my case study submission. My proposal to negotiate with the door subcontractor was approved with the management, and the management had also given a mandate to use option 2 as our bottom line figure for negotiation. We had a second meeting with the door subcontractor along with the solicitors of both parties and proposed option 1 as an opening offer. Moreover, the evidence to prove their default was presented to them. And during this negotiation meeting, no conclusion was reached as the solicitor of the door subcontractor requested a copy of the documents for them to study. After more than a year of silence, our management received a letter from the door subcontractor requesting for a payment of only $10,000 to commercially settle the dispute, which we also agreed as it is still below our mandated bottom line figure for negotiation. Subsequently, the door subcontractor had written to the arbitral tribunal to withdraw their arbitration case that was filed against us. So with these exercises, I learned few important lessons. First is that the importance of keeping contemporary records. This helped us strengthen our claim against the door subcontractor. Another is the virtue of due diligence, especially if legal actions will be involved, and to be open to negotiations at all times. These lessons allow me to assess the risk involved and help me formulate a reasoned and calculated advice to the management. This concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for listening, and I am now ready for your questions.
I think AJ, you're on mute. Hello, AJ. I think you're on mute.
Okay, let's
Okay.
redo that part. Okay,
All
thank you
right.
very
Okay.
thank you very much, Silver, for for the reenactment of your APC case study presentation. It's a
Yes.
brief presentation, but I would
Mhm.
say it's very concise, and you have touched on everything. And I think that's a very good example to share with our viewers on how you're supposed to package or put it into presentation the case study. The project is a whole, it's a vast experience that you have gone through, but you have to put it
Mhm.
the salient points in your presentation to highlight what is really there, what you have gone through, what were the competencies that you have exercised during this part. The levels 1 to 3 has been clearly conveyed and you have exuded it through your case study. Congratulations again and
Yeah.
again. Okay. So, but before
Thank
we
you.
move on to the final assessment interview or the questions, we let's take a look back on the timeline and then let's have a few more talks like how you were able to go through it. The final
Okay.
assessment interview.
All
Okay.
right.
So why don't you tell us more about this 1 hour of final assessment interview?
Mhm.
Okay. So actually, during the actual interview process, the assessors are accommodating and friendly. They will try to make you feel at ease so that you will not be tense during the interview. The first 3 to 4 minutes are normal introduction on casual conversation, like how are you doing? How did you arrive here? Did you take a cab or take an MRT? So, and then how long did you prepare for this process? These things. Then the next 10 minutes, you will be given a chance to present your case study the same way that I had just right now. So you have a maximum of 10 minutes. You can choose to use it all up, or you can have a lesser number of minutes in presenting your case study. But just take note that since you are under strict timeline, you be sure not to exceed the 10-minute presentation. Otherwise, they may also cut you short and you will not be able to finish your
Mhm.
presentation. Then there will be a 5 minutes question and answer with regards to the case study, and then another 25 minutes will be allotted for Q&A of your other competencies, your statement of competencies that you have submitted. And then in about 10 minutes, it will be allocated for the question and answer focused on mandatory competencies, especially ethics and rules of conduct. Do note that this is the very crucial part. This is the important part. Because even if you passed all the technical and mandatory competency questions, you have answered them with flying colors, we say, but you failed on ethics and rules of conduct, it will result to your automatic referral. So you have to be fully aware of the ethical standards that are expected from a professional quantity surveyor. Yes.
I see. Okay, so that's a very rigorous 1 hour. I think it's nerve wracking and it's like knee shaking experience during the entire process. Although you've mentioned that they're friendly and all these, I think it's an hour of a make or break
Or break.
situation, right,
Yeah.
Eric?
Yeah, it's I can only imagine the pressure going on if you're not prepared or if you're not ready. So I think preparation is one of the key in order for you to pass the APC. So if you're not prepared going there, I think it's very challenging, and they will know. Definitely,
Yeah,
they
they
will know
will.
if you're not ready.
Agree.
Yeah.
So you have to know your case study like at the back of your hand or when you flip a
Yeah.
coin.
The
Whatever
all,
questions that they may throw at you, you should be able to answer it,
yeah,
right?
all the ins and
Yes.
outs.
Agree. So which moves us to okay, there you go, Silver. So let's move on to the final assessment interview. So during this time, during your final assessment interview, you have a number of questions that were thrown out to you during the 35-minute question and answer portion, right? So let's try it by raising question number 1. So we have a few selected questions on this that you can answer, like a reenactment of how it was done during your final assessment interview. First question is there.
Hopefully it's not tougher compared to what I have done. Let me see. So,
Okay, yes. So, how can you say that the alternative dispute resolution, in this case, you've done negotiation, how can you
Mhm.
say that it was a success when you have actually incurred losses?
um, that's a tough one actually. Um, from my point of view, when you when you are undertaking commercial management in construction, so it is actually managing the profit of the company or of the project. But it's not only about profit. You also have to manage and mitigate the losses. So from what I have done, from the exercises that I have carried out and on the presentation that I have made, I managed to cut the losses of the company. Instead of having a losses of around 400 something thousand, let's say at the worst case scenario. So I managed to reduce it even lower compared to the best case scenario, because at the end, instead of paying out 20,000, the amount that was being asked by the door subcontractor during the first meeting, we managed to pay out only 10,000 at the end to settle the issue. Yes. So that is
Okay.
why from my side it is somehow successful.
Mhm.
Okay. So the success of a negotiation or an alternative dispute resolution is not or cannot be measured just by looking at the numbers where whether you have lost something. So it's like when you lose some, you may win some, you may lose some. So I
Yeah.
think that's the case, right?
Yes, correct. And then more importantly is that you have unloaded the burden from the shoulder of the company. Because imagine if you're doing a lengthy arbitration process, let's say that would take for around 6 months to 2 years. So
Mhm.
instead of allocating the resources to a more profitable works, you are allocating your resources in defending a case that are eating up to the profit of the organization. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it moves us, I think, to ask this question. Um, in your contract, do you still remember the arbitration clause or before? Because you mentioned that the subcontractor went directly to file for arbitration and they didn't go through the alternative dispute resolution.
Yes, because in certain contracts there are provisions that you have to go through several steps of alternative dispute resolution. The first of it could be negotiation. Then you have adjudication, and there is another one, arbitration. So in some form of contract, it is stated that you cannot go straightforward to arbitration if you haven't gone through adjudication or mediation.
Yes.
But in our form of contract, it does not restrict the any party to the contract to go straight to arbitration. So they have that option and they have that right actually. So what I said that they haven't explored the other alternative dispute resolution is that if they have gone through, let's say, adjudication or mediation, it will be the process is less costly and faster
Mhm.
compared to arbitration. Yes. So we could have settled the issue in front of a mediator rather than in front of the adjudicator.
And it's a very great thing that you were able to share with your company within your team that you have to explore on the possibilities. You gave them options to look into and they were able to realize it in form of numbers are very important when you present to the management, right?
Mhm.
Because it
Yes,
will be a
correct.
gauge of whether they will be losing or how prepared are they to lose a certain amount of money because of going through the process like arbitration, or are they really willing to lose that kind of money if they
Mhm.
go through arbitration. So it's a
Yes.
very great experience, I believe, that you
Yes,
Mhm.
have
correct.
gone
And
through.
if I may add,
Mhm.
numbers are important, but more importantly is that how you derive with those numbers, the process of deriving with those numbers. It should be realistic and
Mhm.
it should be collaboration with other departments. Like from what I have mentioned, I spoke with our lawyers on how much will be the cost of these proceedings. I spoke with our account on what is the actual financial status of this particular subcontractor. So these things I have to collaborate and then present so that I can give not only advice but reasoned and calculated advice.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I
Oh,
think, yeah, it's also important to highlight these alternative dispute resolutions prior going to an arbitral case or arbitration process, So because there are some practitioners or there are some who directly go or directly wants to have the arbitration without exhausting the alternative options such as the what you've said a while ago, the negotiation, conciliation, mediation. There's also expert determination, adjudication. So I think it's very important, and for the information of everyone, arbitration is not the initial step. It could probably a negotiation. So as long as the dispute or the conflict is resolved immediately, the better. So
Yes,
Agree.
yes, correct. I
yeah,
agree with you.
And as quantity surveyors or as KISS professionals, we have to put it into practice, that we get to talk to or communicate with our subcontractors or with the
yeah,
stakeholders
mm,
for the contracts that we're handling or for the projects that we're undergoing. It is very important. Communication is very important. And at the same
true,
time, the power to negotiate, the power to, bring them into table to talk about things and try to
true.
reach an amicable settlement before you even go to arbitration or any legal option, which will eventually cost more money, more time doing and preparing for it rather than the actual process of settling. And to think that, for example, in your case, you were talking about doors, right? I
Mm,
mean, defects on the doors.
Yes,
As much as you would want to eat, it's not always a grand issue in a construction site. I mean, for sure, your project has encountered even more difficult scenarios or more difficult challenges. But
yes, indeed.
it is the action of your subcontractor that led to a grand uh, display of arbitration case, and
mhm.
then you were actually able to provide
Yeah,
a very good learning experience for everybody in your team. Okay, that's a
Yes.
very humbling experience, and thank you very much for sharing it. But before we proceed, I would like to check on was it always like a straightforward question, or were there curveball questions during the APC final assessment interview?
Okay. Mostly, they will ask a straightforward question, but be also prepared for any, we call it curveball or trick question. Because
Mm-hmm.
in my case, I remember one question that really stuck on my mind. So the question is that I was asked about, when you carry out estimate for formworks in a concrete for formworks, do you consider butt end or lap end? So I was taken aback by this question, by that question actually, and I utter, yeah, I consider butt end or joint end. The assessor actually repeat the question and confirm if that is my consideration. And without hesitation, I replied, yes, I'm considering butt end. Then we go to the next question.
oh,
During answering the next question, that question still stuck in my mind. I believe that I did not answer properly, that there is something wrong with my answer. And then while answering the current question, I remember that me and my counselor, Mr. Ronnie Casono, had a conversation about estimates. And we discussed that in estimating formworks in concrete, you consider the area in contact with the surface of concrete or area in contact with concrete. So right after I finished answering that next question, I requested the assessor who gave me that question if I can expound further or elaborate further on my answer about the formworks estimate. And I explained to her that when I carry out the estimate for the concrete formworks, I'm considering the area in contact with concrete, which she also accepted, and she gave me the chance to explain further my answer. Yeah. So the thing is that you have to expect that questions will come from all angles and be ready to correct any further or to correct or elaborate your previous answer if you have a chance to. But when you do that, be ready that you are now equipped with the right answer. Because if you're still hesitant, better to proceed with the other questions. Yeah, because you might be adding fire to your previous mistake, or you are adding fuel to your previous fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great tip you got there. So thank you for sharing that. So we have to be prepared as to whether the question that will be thrown to us is something that's a direct or a trick question. And then
Mm,
apart from that, how do you think? How did you internalize? It was a quick 1 hour, or let's say a quick 35-minute question and
yeah.
answer portion. And you, what if, for example, you don't have anything yet? Once they ask a question, what were the things that you do to, buy you some time, or to be able to give yourself some time to think?
Oh, with regards to that one, you have to. There are several ways to stall the time without actually knowing them that you're stalling it. Yeah, one
Mm.
of that is that while they are asking you a question, you listen to it, let them finish, and then before you answer, you will repeat the question. For example, just to confirm that your understanding is correct. But at the back of
Mhm.
your mind, the
You-
mechanism of your mind is already running. What is it that you're going to answer to this question? Yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a good tip.
Yes. And another thing actually is
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
yeah, another thing is but you don't need to do this often. So after the questions, you may take a glass of water and then take a sip while trying to devise your answer, or
Yeah.
trying to compose your answer. So with that, you are doing something that you're not leaving a, let's say, a blank space
Mhm.
or a blank amount of
Dead
time
air.
during the process. Yes,
Yeah.
like a dead air. Yeah.
So were
That's
there moments that you've doubted yourself, or were there moments that during the APC that you said to yourself, I cannot do it anymore. It's a confidence crushing question. So were there moments like that, or were you prepared for that type of questions, Silver?
Uh, Thankfully, for me, for my case,
Mhm.
thankfully, I that moment did not come to me because
Mm.
except only for that particular question that I doubted my answer. But probably I can say that it is all thanks to the training that I have,
Mhm.
from what PICQS, from the support and the mentoring that PICQS had given me, and also to my counselor, which is also happened to be my colleague. So our mentorship, our counseling session is not like a scheduled counseling, but it's like a spontaneous. Yeah.
Mhm.
So thankfully, I never doubted any of my questions. Yes.
that's how
Great,
prepared
great,
you
yeah.
were before you stepped into the APC final interview, I think.
Yes. Correct.
So
Mhm.
that's how
Yes.
you have to have that confidence in you, that you can say to yourself that
Mhm.
I'm ready,
Mm.
and I'm ready to face the questions that whatever the final assessors will be throwing at me. And
Yes.
you have the confidence because you know your case study very well, and you have prepared for your case study, and you have this whole time from 2015 until you sit on, and on 2018, that was
Yes.
a 3 years of preparation before you
Mm.
finally sit in, and
Yeah.
you have to review the whole P3T, right? You have to review the structured trainings again, and take it to heart. Okay,
Mhm.
so that's
Yes.
very great experience.
Mm.
That's a very great journey, Silver. We're very grateful that you shared with us. And there are some comments here in our chat box. Well, you have some fans, I think so. So
Oh,
Abraham
from
read us
Abraham.
Ocons. Okay, that's
So far.
thank you, JC and Abba. And I think there's a pressing question here from
Mm.
Abraham Ruedas. Which part of your case study touched on ethics, rules of conduct, and professionalism competency? Well, that's a great question.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Okay,
it's a
so
great question,
which
and it's a
part?
tough one actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the part is that probably the one that touch on ethics, rules of conduct, and professionalism is being ready and open to negotiation. That's one thing. And second thing is preparing your claim in a professional manner that you can support whatever it is that you are claiming. You can support it with with the documents, with the contemporary records, and you have the contractual grounds. It's not just you are claiming for the sake of claiming and you just want to bully someone else. So that is not the way to do it. You have to do it with basis and with support. So the base support for that is your contractual entitlement. And it's not just you have the contractual entitlement, but you have to follow the procedures in order for you to come up with this contractual entitlement. So one thing is by giving them a chance to, let's say, to rectify the defect. But because they did not do it, then you have to notify properly. And when you do the computation of how much you are going to recover from them, it will be based on actual cost also, supported by documents. And for the administrative charges, it is supported by contractual agreement. So in that way, you can face the other party that in straight eyes that this is my claim from you for you. I don't have any profit on it. I don't have anything on it, but this is just what the contract is telling us.
Thank you very much for that,
Yeah.
Silver. And
So
I
I think
believe
yeah, that's the way.
you have answered the question directly. And yes, in a hindsight, you have to be prepared and your documents have to be prepared. So
Yes,
records,
Records,
and
and
records.
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 Yeah.
That's very good to hear. So why don't we have a few moments from our sponsors for PIQS 2021, which is our 24th Congress this November.
RIB Software is a pioneering enterprise committed to driving innovation and technological advances in the construction and real estate industries. I2 CostX by RIB is being used in over 90 countries around the world, and it is a complete estimating solution with 2D takeoff, 5D beam support, integrated workbooks, and customizable reports, all in one program. Become faster, smarter, and more accurate today with I2 CostX.
Okay, there you have it. We have done the case study 10-minute presentation from Silver De La Rosa. We also had our final assessment interview. And thank you for our viewers who have also shared with us a few questions. And there's also one more question to go for APC, which I believe that this was asked to you during your final assessment interview. Okay, so go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, your newly appointed subcontractor invited you for lunch. How will you respond? This is very common, but I think you might have a better understanding or a better view on this, Silver.
Oh, okay. Actually, ethics is one of the question that is a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
And then you asked earlier if there is something that I'm in doubt of. I
Mm-hmm.
just remember now when you asked me this question, this that one of the questions in ethics actually keep me awake at night until the result was released.
Mm-hmm.
It is because that when it comes to ethical question, you have to be sure and you have to be certain that you are doing things professionally and ethically, and your actions are the one that are expected from a professional. For let's say for your contractor and the newly awarded contractor and requested you for to go with them for lunch or for any gift that they're going to offer in that sense. First, I have to evaluate what is my company's procedure when it comes to gifts and let's say presentations. So normally, our company does not allow us to accept any gift or presentations from any contractor. But having said that, there are also times that the contractor wanted only to establish certain rapport with the team to
Yeah.
establish the good relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So if that happened, it should not only be me but the entire team. So if they invite the entire team, or if they invite the entire team in behalf of me, they told me only. So I have to tell the other team members, and before we say yes, we have to we have to bring it up to the management first for transparency that we are going to have a lunch with a subcontractor that we newly awarded, so that everything will be clear from the beginning, that there will be no doubts, or you will not be casted with this cloud of doubts.
Mhm.
Yes, so you have to evaluate actually what is the purpose behind the offer, and you have to be transparent and report it to your management. Yes,
Agree. So in
Yeah.
in matter of ethics, we would always need to do like a newspaper test in order to gauge what are we going to do or how we are going to respond to this. A simple gesture of lunch could mean a number of things, and yes, you're correct, Silver. The intention should be explicitly
Correct.
conveyed. When you're
Mhm.
invited for a lunch, is it going to be a group lunch because we're going to start on a new journey, or is it something that you'll be you can be accused of have receiving a bribe? So the cost
True.
correct.
True.
matters. Okay, so the intention would be there, and you have to, you know, at many times I think you have to have a polite way of declining an offer.
Yes,
Mhm.
In many cases, we will be facing this kind of challenges as we go through our professional journey. And yes, indeed, we have all of us. I think have our own share of being tested ethically
Yeah.
yes,
while we practice,
yeah.
right?
But
Especially
True.
that
if
True.
our work deals
yeah,
a lot of with the cost for the
yes.
project.
So because the scenario given by Eric is that the subcontractor was newly awarded, but if it
Mhm.
Yes,
is during tender time, straight away I would respectfully decline.
Yeah. Yeah.
agree,
Yeah.
agree. If
Yeah.
it's during a project, it can be a collaboration.
Mhm.
Yes, yes,
It's
correct.
it's on the intent, and I think it's also on the timing
Correct.
when the offer was made or being offered to you. So I think that's
Correct.
very
Yeah.
Correct.
important. Yeah.
Agree. My goodness. Okay, so time really flies so fast. We have already gone through an hour and a half of patch, and we are grateful for you, Silver, for coming down and then agreeing to do this interview and sharing with us your APC journey. Before we end formally this patch session, I would like to ask each of you, I
Mhm.
would like us to share with the audience our final statement with regards to the whole thing that we have discussed here today. Silver?
Okay. Thank you for that. And from my own experience, PICQS stands true to its tagline, leading the way, the certified way. It filled me with the necessary knowledge to elevate the level of my ignorance about the QS profession. And it leads me to where I am at right now, a chartered and certified quantity surveyor. So, to those who aspire to become a certified quantity surveyor, PICQS uh, are giving you the right track. So, with PICQS, you are on the right track. The only thing you need to do is to move yourself and follow its lead. Yeah, I think that's what I can say in summary. Thank you,
Thank you very
AJ.
much for that, Silver. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, for me, as an aspirant APC candidate, the structured training of PICQS gave me a tailored fit and a high quality training. So I was able to learn and, of course, relearn many aspects in our profession, quantity surveying, and hope to share it and apply it to my reach. And as well, PICQS does not only prepare you for the APC, but also for the industry. So it will benefit you not only for the APC.
Agree. I couldn't
Mhm.
agree more with with the things that both of you have mentioned. And personally, yes, from the moment that I step into the interview of only being a PICQS member to now that I am already appointed as someone to lead a chapter, which is Singapore. I'm grateful, more than grateful with PICQS for the experience, for the learning, and most especially for the structured trainings that I have gone through. I wouldn't be in the position where I am now, I mean, professionally. I still have a lot to learn, but I've been growing, and the learning hasn't stopped. It has been continuously be there, and I would like to congratulate PICQS for the milestones that it has reached in 10 years. And this year, I mean, by April, we are going to have our own APC, and it will be like our own APC final assessment interview. We have a number of candidates, and they will be tested professionally, and hopefully we are also wishing the best for all these candidates that they may be able to pass and with pass this APC interview in flying colors. Yeah. So
Yeah.
congratulations in advance to our candidates, and we hope and we are challenging each and every one of you fellow PICQS members, challenge yourselves, invest in yourselves, and do the structured training. There's nothing to lose but more to gain.
Yeah.
Agree?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
Okay, so
agree.
Yeah.
there you
Agreed.
have it. This is our second session of Patch. Silver, do you have any final words for our viewers?
So, thank you very much, AJ. Also, again, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to you, to Eric, and to the PICQS family. Because of PICQS, we are growing to become the professional that we wanted to be. Yes, thank you.
Agree. Okay, Eric.
Yeah, I think thank you for organizing this patch, and I am really honored to become your co-host and engage in this session. So I've learned a lot that I could use, especially when I already have the APC or my APC. And just a final note to everyone. I think the success, the pigments of success of everyone is also the success of the organization. So
Agree.
um, let us support the organization, let us support everyone to achieve our aspirations and to become successful in everything that we do.
Agree. With PICQS, we lead the way, the
The
certified way.
certified
So we
way.
already have the structured training in place. All you have to do is grab it. And we are wishing all the best to our 193 enrollees for P3T. Go ace your exams, guys. We look forward to having
Yeah,
you. And pay it forward. Once you've learned something, share it with the others so they will be also a learning experience for the other people who needs them. Okay. Later on, we will be a group of certified professionals. And we hope that you will stay safe, everyone, and catch more of patch sessions with our next APC uh, success story. So watch out for that. Do leave a like, share, and subscribe from our Patch with PICQS channel, our LinkedIn page, and our Facebook page. Okay, catch you again sometime soon, next month for our Patch session. See you guys.
bye
Bye.
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 Thank you, everyone.